Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here, joined by Coach Holt. And, Coach, it continues to be an ugly stretch of baseball. Hey, it's 162. The Dodgers are still in first place, thank goodness. The Padres lost last night. The Phillies, the Phillies don't have the excuses the Dodgers have with the injuries. They have not been playing very well at all. But point blank, Coach, I mean, it has been bowling shoe ugly. I don't mean to start this thing off on a negative note, but you got to call it what it is. I mean, it just has not been pretty.
Okay, somebody that's watched your podcast, you're not a negative person, but you're also not going to sit and sugarcoat things that don't need to be sugarcoated. And I'm the same way. I'm not ready to fire anybody, get rid of anybody, love the Dodgers, love the organization. So, but we got to call it what it is. And it just hasn't, we're preaching to the choir here. I mean, it's Captain Obvious over here in Oklahoma, but it just hasn't been good baseball at all on any side, pitching, defense, hitting. It's just been kind of hard to watch. We all feel like, we know, I think, but we all feel like, the Dodgers are going to come out of, and, every team goes through low spot. We know this case, even in high school season, every team goes through a lull, quote unquote, and there's probably several lulls in a major league season. Those guys know more about it than I do, but no, it's been a little bit hard to watch, and, the only way you can score is by the home run, I guess. Yeah. Right now, that's kind of bad. Of course, it's the same way for the A's. They just out-homered us, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And you get into the A's, and you had 23,000, I think, is what I saw the crowd being, and that's the season high for them. And so this is a group of guys that are used to playing in terrible environments at home that have absolutely zero energy. I mean, it's almost like you're just waiting for the death of Oakland to move to Las Vegas, and so there's no excitement around that situation at all with that club. And then they've had a terrible year. But then when the Dodgers roll into town, it's almost like, hey, this is, in football, when you've had a bad year in college, they say, okay, well, this is their bowl game right here. Yep. It's almost like last night was, you could just see the energy raise and the excitement level raise for the A's. It was like it was their bowl game to get to play the Dodgers.
Well, I hate that the fact the Dodgers lose, but I love it for those kids. I look down through it. I don't even know these guys. I don't even recognize any names. I love it for
Langoliers. You recognize him. He was good at Baylor.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, exactly. I do remember the Baylor kid. But, I mean, as a whole, you're like, who the heck are they? But anyway, I love it for those kids because they finally get to play in front of a major league crowd at home.
Yes.
They'll probably get better crowds in Sacramento than they're getting in Oakland before they even move to Vegas.
Will.
So they will, because it'll be new. The Sacramento people will embrace that just because it's Major League Baseball, kind of like Oklahoma City did when the Hornets came here. And now we end up getting a franchise out of it just because they embraced it. But no, you're right. That has a lot to do with it. And probably the 23, probably 19 of them are Dodger fans. I mean, if we're going to be honest, case, but that is the price of being the Dodgers. And let's say if the Dodgers and the Yankees are that. We know the Cardinals have won, more World Series and probably except for the Yankees. But when the Yankees or the Dodgers roll into town, you'd know that the other teams would give the best shot. The crowd loves it. It's a show of respect in some ways. They want to beat your tail in. But they love the fact the Dodgers are in town, or they love the fact the Yankees are in town. That's just the price of being the Dodgers, and we love it that way, Case. But that's just the way it's going to be every time the Dodgers roll in anywhere.
Yeah, and that is great. That's a great thing. Like you said, I think that is a show of respect. But the Dodgers aren't the Dodgers right now, Coach. I mean, I was thinking about this last night. Should we really expect anything different? Now, I think you should expect a little bit more fight offensively. I mean, the strikeouts are just out of control.
Right.
So you should expect, I think, guys to fight a little bit harder to put the ball in play and put pressure on the defense. So I think there's some processed parts of the game that Dodgers fans should expect more, even with the lineup they're putting out. But in terms of results, when you're throwing out Kevin Biggio, Jason Hayward, Kevin Kiermaier, and Nick Ahmed, should you really be expecting? I mean, that's almost half your lineup should be. And then Teo Hernandez, I know Teo's been great, okay, but he's hitting 260. He walks less than 8% of the time, and he has a strikeout percentage that is approaching 30%.
Yeah.
So, he's going to hit a home run like he did last night, but then he's going to strike out and then not walk and get on base and that kind of deal. So he adds to the boom or bust, and then Gavin Lux is your 3-hole. So really, I mean, I know it's frustrating. Kind of the biggest disappointment to me is I'm not sure as a fan that this just isn't what the Dodgers are at this moment in time with the roster they have.
And we don't know how much, that's going to change. like I said, not getting into too much of it, but, there's no telling how long he may be gone the rest of the year, with the
Good
child.
for him if he is, man. Take care of that baby.
God bless him and his family, and we're still praying for little Maximus and all that stuff. That's way more important than anything we talk about. So, you don't know. I mean, he's a father. You're a father. I'm a father. I don't care about baseball with my kids in the hospital. So you don't know what's going to get there. You don't know, when Mookie, we don't know if we'll ever get, Muncy back in what capacity, there's things out of your control. In other words, there's things out of the Dodgers' control. But like you said, there are things in their control. Kiermaier is a good major league player, but he's on the downward slide like Hayward. Hayward is a class act. He's been a good major league player for a long time. He's on the downward slide. I mean, I think what you said there kind of hits it on the head. I love Gavin Lux. He's probably my favorite Dodger, and you know why, Case. But anyway, here he is hitting 3-hole. And he's doing great. His average continued to rise, and I'm so happy for that kid
But he's not a 3-hole. I mean, come on.
He's not a 3-hole.
He's a 9-hole.
He's a 9-hole. He's a good one. And he's a good major league player.
Potentially a really good one, yes.
Potentially a really good one, and he has been, and he's coming back off a major. And we know the whole story there, but yes, if he's your 3-hole, you got some issues. But you don't blame Dave at the time. He's the hottest hitter, probably, if you look down through there.
Yeah, right. No, yeah.
He has to be 3-hole right now, but long term, if that's your 3-hole, probably not going to get where you want to be.
So I just didn't think the Dodgers, you have all these resources and you went out and built a roster. I just didn't think you built a roster, or you should build a roster that, again, Mookie and Freddie didn't hit in the postseason last year, and the Dodgers just didn't play good at all.
Right.
It just seems like you should have built a roster that insulated the fact that in case Mookie and Freddie don't hit the ball, then you just can't simply function at all whatsoever as an offense. You just think that would have thought that the Dodgers would have built a roster that could have overcome that better than they have, at least during this stretch.
Yeah, and you had that protection for Ohtani. I know he's hitting leadoff, but I mean, you had protection for Ohtani because you got Hall of Fame hitters around him. You don't have that now. So, and I know his average is dropping some. He still, hits the ball a mile. He's still the greatest baseball freak on the planet now. Him and Aaron Judge. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Those are the two biggest freaks in baseball. And I mean freak in a good way, the freakish talent, that type deal. But, he don't have any protection around him either. I mean, once the game gets started, obviously when it leads off the game, whatever. Right. But I mean, once the game gets going, they can, they can really pitch around him, because anybody behind them going to do anything. So, they know if they make a mistake, he's going to hit it 500 feet. So that's another, dynamic here that you're talking about, and just some things that
and will.
And will. There's no. I mean, it continues. Catcher, they just have it. They just get beat up every day, as you know, Case.
Sure.
Every catcher from little league on up.
That's fine, but we got to have them.
No, you're right. We don't have the other choice. Barnes has been a good backup, but in the long run, get where you want to be, you got to have Will, and you got to have him at his best. So, it's just some trying times there, and I feel confident with the Dodgers organization, but
no doubt.
I'm like you as I was looking down through the box score and the lineup. Holy, I mean, I don't.
You're like, dang, well, no wonder we're not playing. I mean, look at our lineup. I mean, really, offensive players.
Yeah, and I have no doubt in my mind those guys are giving great effort. They're major league players, and they're good major league players. But right now, they're not the ones that you need in your lineup.
Yeah, no doubt, and I think that's why it was disappointing that there just wasn't an impact bat at the trade deadline. I know Randy Rosarina. And, hey, Coach, we promoted getting him in the offseason many different times. But point blank is he's not having a good season. And so to get him, if you're going to give up like a Dalton Rushing or somebody like that, you're doing it on an if. You know, we always hear once they get into the Dodgers system and the culture and they're lockering next to ShoheiOhtani and Freddie Freeman, they're going to all of a sudden start playing better. Not always. I mean, that's still an if. And so to give up the kind of prospects they were going to have to give up to go get a Randy Rosarina who's not doing it right now and brings all those ifs into the equation, I totally get all that. So there just weren't really any impact bats at the trade deadline. Ahmed Rosario, I think he's one of the positives. And I know Dave said he's going to hit against lefties. So that brings me to the next thing I want to get off my chest. And I am not against analytics. I love analytics. But here's my point on the way the Dodgers do this with their lineups. Okay. Hitting the baseball is the hardest thing in sport to do. Okay. I mean, it is so incredibly hard to hit baseballs. It's unbelievable how hard it is to do. So when you add layers of difficulty to it by creating inconsistent opportunities, meaning guys aren't getting to do it every day. Coach, the only way you get better at something is repetition.
Yep.
We all know that. That's not a secret. And so, yes, you might say, well, so-and-so does it against lefties and righties. But I'm just telling you, there's a reason why pinch hitters hit just barely over 200, because the inconsistent opportunities, even if it's against matchups that on paper look good for you, it makes it that much more difficult to hit a baseball. So to build into your everyday lineups versatility to where guys are getting inconsistent opportunities, and then also the pinch hit, that makes absolutely no sense to me from a team that should be able to overanalyze that and realize that actually doesn't work.
No, I agree with you. Pinch hitting has changed. Of course, I'm old enough to remember. There's not very many, excuse me, Manny Mota's walking around. Manny Mota hit, I think, I'll go back and look at his record. I don't know right offhand. I'm pretty sure he was a 300 hitter as a pinch hitter. And they used to say Manny Mota could jump out of bed, go get a base hit. Those guys don't, or go 2 for 3 after he popped out of bed. I think Joe Garagiola said that about him. And that's what his role was for years. The Dodgers, it didn't matter righty or lefty. He's going to pinch hit whoever the heck's out there, and Manny Mota's going to hit him. I know things have changed, analytics and all that stuff, but I agree with you, Case. Baseball is a game you got to play. I mean, I remember years ago when I first started coaching, Gary Ward told me that. But you don't want to – baseball's not a game you want to practice every day. Now, I think that's why you see the teams who get the time off at the end don't play well. Yeah. The teams are doing well at the end of the year, the ones that consistently play. It's the same way for players. I can get him in the tunnel. I can throw BP. Hey, I have to throw him extra BP today. Got him on the tees. Got some soft toss. Got some short toss work. It's not game conditions. It's not something that they need to be into. They can't condition themselves. You got to get them those. You got to get them reps as much as you can. I'm like you, Case. I love analytics because we even do it on the high school level. We got a chart and it's spray charts, and we're even using on the high school level on a smaller version. Scouting reports, but so much about feel. I remember I go back to Bob Stoops, the old former OU coach. I hate OU, but I love Coach Stoops. Mm-hmm. He says analytics is just for people who when they fail to make excuses. He said that's his ideal in analytics. He coached a lot on field. He's an old school coach, even though he's not that old. But and I tend to agree with some of that too. And me and you both have gone off field as managers. I'm sure Dave has too. I'm not saying he hasn't. Sure. But there's a lot to that. But players get, and I've even felt this at high school level. I mean, we've talked as a high school staff going, he's a pretty good player, but he's behind Ethan Holiday. I mean, the guy needs to get some freaking at bats, So we need to DH him today. We've done, you've done it. We've all done it. You can't let a guy sit on the bench and run and then put him in there in a tense situation, where he don't have, he'll have the opportunities to, the failure is probably going to happen because first of all, he hadn't seen live pitching. Off a live guy instead of an old guy like me throwing BP up there. But, so it is a thing. It's a thing on every level. I agree with you.
Yeah. And my problem with it is, I mean, it literally, to me, it comes down to put your best 9 baseball players that you have available for that night. Put those 9 players in and play them until a situation comes up to where you can't. Don't just automatically build in, well, we're going to play him until. We're going to play that guy until. We're going to platoon this guy until. And then the next thing you know, nobody knows what the hell's going on. Nobody's getting consistent at bats. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you're striking out at incredible rates, and the offense isn't good, and you're not maximizing what you do have, which brings up my next topic before we'll get into some of the positives from last night. But, yes, 4 of your guys in your lineup aren't good offensive players. Yes, you're hamstrung by injury. But you're the Dodgers. You have one of the highest payrolls in the game. If there is any club in baseball that has the ability to have a next man up mentality, it should be the Dodgers. So, yes, you have all this going against you, but at some point you've got to quit focusing on what you don't have and then put all of your focus on trying to maximize what you do have.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I think my superintendent, when I finished up as a principal, he always said, now what? That was his team when we go into it. Okay, lack of money or the state standards of this or whatever is going bad in education. He looks out and goes, now, so now what? It's the same thing. So we're just going to quit teaching. The kids are rolling in here next Monday morning, whether we're ready to go or not. It doesn't matter what my opinion is. I still have to educate those kids. It's kind of the same thing. So it's the same thing. So now what? I mean, you don't. Yeah. You're playing a game today. You got to come up with answers, and And every day you have to do it. And that's why those guys get paid a lot of money. That's why they're great at what they do. That's why they're major league organization, general managers, player development guys, managers, pitching coaches, all those stuff. Those guys are highly trained in that. But, I tend to agree with you. What are you going to do? I mean, nobody's got a crying towel out for the Dodgers. I promise you. In San Diego, they're sure not one. San Francisco, Phoenix, they could care less. And that's the way it should be. It's that way in high school. We talked about it in high school ball. Hey, nobody cares. We got kids sick or we had one get his thumb broke, and our best player, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares, dude. The first pitch is on the way and we're playing. So you better come up with an answer pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, you're the Dodgers. If you don't like the roster you have, if you think the roster is too limited to have the amount of success that we all expect, then go get better players. I mean, you have unlimited resources to get whatever type of player that you possibly could have. Okay, the last thing on this team before we move to GavinStone, it just feels like at the moment, and we've all gone through this as players, as coaches, even on great teams, it just feels like this team has that aura to it, like they're just waiting for something bad to happen.
Yeah. Now what? It's now what the negative. I've been there. I've been in the negative.
We've all been there, Coach.
There's now what's a positive side, and there's now what the negative, which is what gets in your mind like, oh, here we go again. It's kind of like blowing a lead in the ninth 2 days in a row. The Dodgers aren't going to do that every game, but day two they're probably like, oh man, here we go again. And that's probably the only 2 times they'll do it all year. I'm just saying, it's a freak thing, but it's now what are you going to do? I mean, it's like we always say, hitting's contagious. 2 or 3 guys get hit in a row, everybody's cranking. It looks great.
Absolutely.
But it's the same the other way too. And obviously the Dodgers are double-figure strikeouts. Seems like almost every game. I saw it was 11 last night. There's a couple of games there were 16 Ks. That's just not good baseball case. We talked about it. It's not putting the ball in play. And I know these are major league fielders out there. Don't hit the ball on the ground because they can make whatever. Hit the ball, hit it in the hole. Find a hole. I don't know what to tell you. Hit the ball hard somewhere. How about not strike out and you got an opportunity? And that again, I'm an old school.
Don't miss the first strike that you fouled off instead of hitting it. I mean, hit that ball. That's what leads to strikeouts. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, we've even told high school kids, and you have too. I used to, even on the 6A level in Oklahoma, that's pretty good in high school. In 5A level, like Guthrie's case, you got good pitchers. They used to, you may only see one fastball that entire bat.
Better get it.
You better get it because he's good enough to pitch you backwards. A lot of guys are even in high school, or he's good enough to, if he gets 0-1, we all know what the batting average is when it's 0-1 and 0-2. That's high school on up. So if you get one good fastball that bat, you better not miss it. And I used to tell them the same thing on 2-0 and 3-1. You've heard me say that. I want you to try to knock the wall down on 2-0, 3-1.
No doubt.
Then if you get 2 strikes, then we're going to go to a 2-strike approach. It's a high school thing, Legion. But, you can't chase its own on 2-on-3. I know that's old school baseball, but you're looking for a fastball right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it's there, you can't miss it. You can't foul it off.
Yep. The master of that is Teo Hernandez.
Yep.
Teo Hernandez hunts pitches. He hunts pitches that he knows he can do damage on, and so every time he gets them, he's never surprised. He's never fooled, and he's always ready to hit them. I just love his hunting approach. You can definitely tell, like David Ortiz, the Perry Husband theory of hunting pitches that you can hit. Hey, you might hunt a pitch that is a good pitch that you can't. Why hunt pitches you can't hit, right? So hunt the pitches you can. So Teo Hernandez has the exact model as far as how he does that. Okay, let's get into GavinStone last night. GavinStone, since he threw the complete game, has struggled to touch. Hey, everybody goes through rough patches.
Yep.
I keep hearing fatigue, but you look at his changeup. It had incredible fade. It had incredible tumble. It looked great early in the game. The sinker looked really good. I know it got hit as far as giving up a couple of base hits early on. And then the fastball hit 97. So having seen GavinStone going all the way back to UC, I don't see any fatigue. What I see right here is just an A's team, like just for instance, Blade. Go back and watch Blade lay off the couple of changeups and the sinker that were just barely off the zone, and they actually started on the inside part of the zone to him and just broke all the way across the zone, were barely balls. Either they have such a great game plan that they figured out what pitches not to swing at, or I'm more of because honestly, Coach, GavinStone mixed it up really well. I mean, his sequences were very, very complicated. They were mixed up, and the A's were just on them. So it just kind of smelled to me like there's something being tipped here.
Yeah, because he's Owen Ford his last 4 starts or something,
Yeah.
okay, something like that. Yeah, his stuff doesn't look, but I tend to agree with you. And he's new to the league. He really
Yes.
is. He's still new to the league.
Yeah.
So, but maybe there is something that's been figured out. Tipping of pitches. That's something that the Dodgers analytics, their own staff, something can look at. But it seems like they're not missing the pitch, pitch to hit. They're not missing it. So, and that's a situation. Those guys are so good at seeing how they tip pitches. I know.
Yes.
My nephew Grant Bergman is friends with a young man from Lawton who played for the Mets and everything. I'll think of his name.
Kelly Stinnett.
Yeah, well, yeah, but he sat with him at an 89ers game in Oklahoma City one time.
Butch Husky, that's who it was.
Yeah. My bad. And Butch, he's friends with Butch's family down because Butch is from Lawton. Butch Husky played with the Mets and some other teams. But Grant told me he sat there with Butch, and they're at the Oklahoma City game. He sat there and he's calling every pitch.
Yeah.
Grant said and Grant played Division I baseball. He's not an idiot as far as baseball. He's coached it. And
he's like, what?
Yeah, Butch is sitting there calling every pitch, just brought off the guy's tipping. And he was a retired major leaguer just sitting in the stands with a cold one and a hot dog.
Yeah.
And he's calling every pitch. That's what those guys do. That's what they're so good at it. There's a retired guy. He still said, "Hey, this guy." So they're so good at being able to pick up the little nuances of pitchers, and it's hard for your own team, your own pitching coach to pick up, how you're tipping it. But yeah, I tend to agree with it. Something's going on there. It doesn't look like he doesn't look bad, but he's getting lit up.
No doubt. Okay. So like you do each and every post-game talk, you talk to your team during the tough moments. You start with here's what we're not doing. Here's all the negatives. Here's all this. I'm going to get all this off my chest, and you guys are going to sit here and listen to it, right? And then you finish with the positives.
Yep.
Just finish on a positive note. Hey, man, there's a game tomorrow. We got to figure this out. And so we went over everything that we need to get better at. So let's finish with what we actually are good at right now. So the positives, Gavin Lux keeps hitting. Evan Phillips looked like Evan Phillips last night. And then the Dodgers, they showed life in the comeback. I mean, they brought it back to within 1 run, and I was like, okay, Will Smith is up. Here we go, man. Let's bang one right here, and let's tie this thing up and have another miraculous comeback. And then also, Ahmed Rosario looks like he could provide some instant offense for this team. So it wasn't all negative. I know I've gotten some stuff off my chest today, but there were some positives last night.
Oh yeah, and you have them in every game. I know. I'm like you, Case. I've had those post game talks, and I'd always finish with another thing. Hey, the great thing about it, and whatever it was, in less than 24 hours, we get to get out here again.
Do it again.
We get to start. You're all 0 for 0 starting tomorrow at 7:00, or sometimes in 8 hours we're going to be back at her again. So it doesn't matter if you're 4 for 4, 0 for 4 with 4 Ks. Tomorrow's a new day, and that's really all you can do, because that is whether we like it or not. That is the nature of baseball.
It is.
You can't dwell on the negatives, and you sure can puff your chest out and think you got to figure it out and you're on the positive. So we know it's a game of failure, and it's how you handle, as we always say, Case, how you handle those failures is how your team's going to perform, and how in the long run, that's how you're going to, what kind of team you're going to be, because everybody has failure. You got to handle it. We all know that. You fail 7 out of 10 times, you're in the Hall of Fame. So that's just the way. This is just the nature of the business.
Yeah, and absolutely one thing you can't do is, and they won't. This is why having such great. This is where the culture I always talk about with the Dodgers. This is where it really comes to the forefront, because if you don't have a great culture, like if you're the Padres in the past, now I think Mike Schultz is going to change all that, because I think he does a great job with all these kinds of things. But in the past, whenever you have a bad culture, with whatever club that may be, when you have a patch like this, everybody starts pointing fingers. Well, you're not doing your job. And the next thing you know, everybody's just kind of doing their own thing. But this is where the culture of the Dodgers, having elite human beings that will all have each other's backs. And then again, they're veterans. So yes, it kind of looks like there's no sense of urgency, but really what it is no sense of panic, because veterans, older people tend to see the bigger picture versus just the short run of things. I think this is where that type of culture and having the veterans will, in the long run, eventually show that it was a good thing.
Well, we're talking about, Hayward and Kiermaier down there. The positive about those guys, they've seen it all.
They have.
The good and the bad. We can say here, well, I kind of wish those guys weren't playing their own downward slide. Whatever, whether it's true or not. But the point also is they've been through that. That's something our younger guys who haven't been through it. Ohtani hadn't been through a whole lot of that. I mean, I know he had, but he can lean on those veteran guys. Yeah, I don't care if they're hitting 200. Hayward's very important in that clubhouse right now. So is Kiermaier. They're very important to our team for the clubhouse, for the makeup. I don't know Kiermaier at all. I know what Matt Holliday says about Hayward.
He wouldn't be a Dodger if he wasn't an elite human being.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. So they'll depend on those guys. And the guys aren't going to look at what are you talking about. You're hitting 200. No, he's been through it, and he's been a productive major league player who's basically seen it all in the game. Mm-hmm. That's why those guys. It's like you said, Case. Those guys are important now. In the clubhouse, around the batting cage, on the team plane, whatever the heck it may be. The other guys, instead of going in panic mode and making it worse, they're going to be able to see how those guys handle their business. And say, okay, we just got to keep plugging away. It's like a guy getting in a slump. I don't have any magic wand. Get in the cage, we'll work. We're not going to change everything. It's just a mental deal a lot of the times. And that's where the Dodgers are right now. And we all feel confident, like you just said, because of the human beings they have and the organization they have, that they'll right the ship sooner or later.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Coach, hey, man, I appreciate you hanging out with me today and letting me get a bunch of stuff off my chest. I feel a whole lot better. It's kind of like one of those deals. I feel like I can wash it now. I'm ready to go, man. Let's tee this thing back up and let's get this next game started. I'm ready to go now that I've got all this stuff off my chest. So, hey, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it, Coach. Great to see your face. You know I love you.
Love you too, Case, and can't wait till the Dodgers tee it up again. I know it's going to be better today. Go Dodgers.
Going to start our Down on Farm segment as we do each and every time at Single A, Rancho Cucamonga. And wow, what an amazing night it was for the Quakes. You had Cameron Decker, that you're seeing here, register 6 hits, 10 RBIs, 6 hits, franchise record, 10 RBIs, franchise record all by himself with those 10 RBIs. Absolutely unbelievable. He was just a triple shy of the cycle. Right here you're seeing Cameron Decker. Remember, this is a young man who's had some injury issues back and forth, but still only 20 years old. Matter of fact, he'd missed like the last 3 or 4 games for Rancho. Never really got officially put on the IL, but just kind of had some nagging deals that he had to deal with. So he's finally back last night, had the 6 hits and 10 RBIs. One of the most amazing performances, and I've seen a lot of baseball games in my day. I'm not sure I've seen ever a game where a guy had 6 hits and 10 RBIs. That may be the first time I've ever actually seen that in all 51 of my years that I have been on Earth. So what an amazing night for Cameron Decker. And between that and Ronaldo Yin hitting 104 a couple of months ago, I mean, this Quakes team, and then like you have Zaire Hope and Kendall George. At one point, you had also Josue De Paula, and then Edgardo Henriquez was on that team for a while. This Quakes team this year has been a video game. So here is Kendall George's 5-hit night, and the thing about it is right back up the middle. You're going to see him use the middle of the field, what I call the big part of the field. You're also going to see him hit the ball the other way. You're going to see him hit, there's another one right up the middle again for Kendall George. Attaboy, I love that hit right there. You're going to see him bunt for a base hit. He also stole, I believe, his 32nd base. Yeah, 32nd base on the year. He went oppo. There's the bunt base hit there. And run, man. And they say all the time, I hear it all the time, hey, professionals don't make mistakes. Well, if you put pressure on them, like Kendall George does, we saw it even with Clayton Kershaw is going to be in the Hall of Fame the other night. You put pressure on professionals, they will make mistakes. So you've seen him hit the ball up the middle. You've seen him bunt for a base hit. You're going to see an oppo hit here in a minute. And then you see him pull the ball to the pull side gap with a little bit of power and hit it off the wall. So not only did Kendall George have 5 hits on the night, not only did he score 5 times, he also did it just in about every which way that you possibly can as an offensive player. And in a just an outing to where, to be honest with you, there's not very many human beings on earth that have the talent to even be able to do what Kendall George did last night. So that part of it alone is very exciting for the Dodgers' #1 draft pick out of the 2023 draft, Kendall George. As far as the pitching last night for the Quakes, hey, this is Shawn Lennan right here. This is a young man that is very good. Matter of fact, I messaged Sean Coyne, one of their pitching coaches at Rancho, about Lennan because I had never seen him before. He had just got with the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes, I would say probably 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, while they were in Fresno, however long ago that was. And so this is exactly what Sean Coyne, one of the pitching coaches, said about Lennan. Just got to Rancho recently when they were in Fresno. He's looked strong so far. Fastball that you're seeing here, 90 to 94, tops at about 95, plus changeup. So that right there is 94 to 95. He didn't say plus changeup. He said plus changeup, and a slider that's taken big strides this year. He also said that he has great pitchability. He commands the zone very well. He uses all parts of the zone, and he locates very well. And so he knows how to use his stuff to his advantage, sequencing and then executing his sequences. Career 7% base on ball from the DSL, which is the Dominican Summer League, to A-, and he's just, 20. He's just 19 years old out of Colombia. So there's a good look for the first time ever on Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network at Shawn Lennan, a young 19-year-old pitcher out of Colombia. Going to move up now to the high A Great Lakes level, and to do so, you got to welcome back Mr. Maddox Bruns. Now, last night obviously wasn't perfect. 2.1 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 2 strikeouts, and 1 walk, but it was perfect in the sense that he is back. This is a young man that is still only 22 years old. You forget, hey, man, he's had a lot of stops and starts in his career. We know all about the electric stuff. We know all about his progress in getting the ball in the strike zone. But the stops and starts between the injuries and the dev list that he went on to work on a few things. So it seems like Maddox Bruns has been around for a long time. He's been around, he's a first-round draft pick all the way back in 2021. So there's a little fatigue in terms of thinking about the amount of time that he's actually been in pro ball. Don't forget, though, he came straight out of high school, and it's still only 22 years old. How about him at 22? How about Jackson Ferris at 20 years old? How about Justin Robleski, who just made his major league debut and has shown his stuff? We've been saying it for a year or two now. The lefties are coming, so it's great to see Maddox Bruns back on the mound and showing off his electric stuff. This is Garrett McDaniels, and I know Garrett McDaniels spent some time on the IL, so I did not really have a real feel for him, what he is and how good he is until this year. And I'll tell you what, that sweeping slider right there is just simply fantastic. And let me show you something in his motion right here. First of all, as he releases, see how he swings that ball behind his back? That's going to make that ball very invisible, especially the lefty. See how the ball's still hidden right there? And he just does a wonderful job. See how the ball's still hidden, and the hitter just can't see it until it's right there. And by that time, it just seems to really get on top of the hitter, and especially when you have spin on it. You can see the hitter right there just did not identify the spin, because it's like, where in the heck did that ball come out, and where is it coming from? Picking up the delivery window is very, very difficult to do. And then also, as you see him pitch, let me back that up one more time and let you see right there. See where he lands? Now, it's not superly severe like a Nick Frasso or somebody like that, or maybe even a Jacob Metter, but there is some crossfire to it, meaning that he lands on the first base side of the rubber, and then in accordance with home plate, and then he throws across his body loop with a little bit. So that's going to make it even more difficult on lefties. And when you combine that with the way that he hides the ball and the fact that that fastball is 95 and it's playing off of that slider and curveball that he's offering at home plate, that is a really, really nice offering. Young man who came to the Dodgers out of Mount Olive. He threw 1 2/3 innings last night, 3 hits, 2 runs, 2 strikeouts, and a walk. So really starting to get familiar with Garrett McDaniels' game. I know that Austin Brubaker's seen him a couple of times and really likes him, but hey, those are nice offerings right there. So keep your eye on Garrett McDaniels. You might have another Jack Dreyer on the way, another lefty high-leverage reliever, Brandon Neek type, and Garrett McDaniels. Although Maddox Bruns stole the highlights because he was finally back. Look at that changeup from Jose Rodriguez. Jose Rodriguez stole the show. He was the third pitcher to come in, so hard to call that technically a piggyback, but that's really kind of what it was. Call it whatever you want. He knocked down the bulk innings. Being the third pitcher of the game, he came in and threw 5 innings. Now, this was all planned. He threw 5 innings last night and gave up 5 hits, no runs, 3 strikeouts and just 1 walk. Now, we know that the swing and miss stuff has always been there for Jose Rodriguez, but you've already seen him throw a couple of changeups that were really, really nice. There's his little slider that backed up on him and got him a strikeout. So the pitchability to go with the really dirty stuff that he has, see that changeup, that's really nice, was very good last night. So when the pitchability matches the dirty stuff, there's another good changeup in the zone. It is absolutely game, set, and match for the other team. ERA for Jose Rodriguez, who goes up a ways, by the way. I mean, he is a tall drink of water. ERA down to 2.45 at the high A level. With Great Lakes, his whip is just 109, and he has 41 strikeouts in 33 innings. Overall, between Rancho and Great Lakes, 100 strikeouts on the year in 67.2 innings. This is a guy that could end up in your Rolodex if he continues to hit the strike zone, continues to execute, and continues to have his pitchability match his ability to have nasty stuff. So Jose Rodriguez, stay tuned on him. Hey, Carlos Duran, he hit 97 last night. That's a nice slider there. Hey, that slider's always been a centerpiece for him. And then he's also had some different timings to his leg kicks. Look at that slider. See how he's making it smaller for strikes, more of a bullet type shape. Noodlers, I love that. That is a promotion for the Tulsa Drillers. If you've never been noodling, where you go reach underneath a rock and try to pull out a catfish, it's a lot of fun. I suggest you do it. Not really. Sounds really scary to me. I've done it a time or two, but no, it is actually a pretty fun thing to do, usually in the Cimarron River or something like that in Oklahoma. Pretty good time, so it's neat to see them be the noodlers. They have like the Tulsa Sound sometimes. They have different promotions where they wear different uniforms, and then fans go out and buy all the different hats and all the different merchandise, and it really does a good job of raising some money. But back to Carlos Duran, that slider right there that we've seen change shapes. There's the more bullet to get it over the strike zone, and then there's the one with depth. See how he changes shapes of that? That is fantastic, especially when you go with a 6'7" frame. Then you match that with a fastball right there that's reaching 97 miles an hour and is consistently 96. So Carlos Duran, he's been a big deal in the past. He's fought injury. He had the Tommy John surgery. He's ramping back up from the Tommy John. That's why he was only going like 3 innings at a time. Last night was 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 7 strikeouts, and 2 walks. So really this year, just kind of get back in the groove of things, throw 3 or 4 innings at a time. Make sure and stay healthy for the remainder of 2024, and then set yourself up for 2025, exactly like Justin Robleski did to start last year. Start 2025 with a clean slate, ready for a full season and a full workload, and see if we can get Carlos Duran up to 6 or 7 innings a game. If you can do that, he will become Major League ready very, very fast. So keep your eye on Carlos Duran. He is not far away from being in your Rolodex. So we're going to have some fun right here. This is Michael Hobbs. He came in after Carlos Duran. Now, hold on. Let's back that up. Let me stop that. This is going a little bit too fast. Watch this first pitch. This is his bullet slider, the smaller slider right here. He throws that smaller one to make sure he throws it for a strike. Now, watch as he goes on. He threw 5 sliders in a row. Watch as he throws each slider. Look how he gets more and more and more depth as he gets ahead in the count. So you saw that first bullet slider. Let's show that one again. Here's that bullet slider to make sure he gets it in the strike zone. A little bit smaller, more depth right there. See, you added depth to that pitch. Now watch the next one come in. Added even more depth to that pitch, and then as he goes along, he's going to continue to add depth as he gets ahead in the count. Now watch this. Now see that? Finally he adds that big depth there. Now he got himself back to a 2-2 count. I'm going to stop that. So he didn't execute the big slider that you saw with the massive amount of depth to it to get the strikeout. So now you see he's back to a 2-2 count. One thing pitching coaches will say all the time, no 3-2 counts. So he needed to make a pitch and get the ball back in the strike zone in a 2-2 count. So throw the bullet again. Throw the smaller slider. Make sure it's a strike. Move it off the barrel. Get you a fly ball. That right there, the way that Michael Hobbs added and subtracted back and forth from his slider, 5 pitches in a row to start his outing, that is some serious skill right there for a young man in Double-A. That's why he was the all-time saves leader at St. Mary's, and that's why he has been so good since he has been with the Tulsa Drillers. So I definitely wanted to show you that sequence and why Michael Hobbs is so good. Moving up to the AAA level, guess who you're seeing right here? Yes, sir. That is one Mr. Ryan Brazier. We're just going to sit here and watch Brazier's outing here. He was I think he was 95 on both of his four-seam. Yeah, he was 95 on both the four-seam and the sinker, but that wasn't the centerpiece. That pitch right there for Brazier, his slider / cutter, sweeper, whatever you want to call it, that was that one right there, that little cutter type pitch. That's the one that he threw the most. Look at that nice fastball. You can see the challenge right there, and that challenge actually was upheld. So Ryan Brazier threw a scoreless inning last night. I wish I had a little bit more information to give you as far as when his return might happen, but it's good to see. I got to see him the other day live in Oklahoma City. Very impressed with the way his four-seam rode the top of the zone. And then that slider, just like Michael Hobbs, he can add and subtract. See how he added depth to it there? You've seen the little bullet-type shape, and then the added depth for the strikeout. So there's a good look at the outing last night, rehab outing for Ryan Brazier. Hey, this is Brennan Davis. He just recently was pulled up to AAA Oklahoma City in his first game. He had the game-tying hit in that crazy extra inning game. I believe that was on Sunday. This is actually his first AAA home run. Remember, the Dodgers drafted Brennan Davis a while back, and because of that, then he went to, I can't remember exactly what organization he went to, but the Dodgers got him back in the offseason last year. He has played absolutely everywhere. He's been with AA Tulsa. Plays a really smooth third base. I've seen him in the outfield. I've seen him at shortstop, seen him at first base, you name it. And to be honest with you, Brennan Davis makes it look fairly seamless. So good night last night for Brennan Davis. Congratulations, young man, on your first AAA ever home run. Andre Lipsius had another night last night where he hit a home run. Matter of fact, he hit home run number 20. So here's some of the numbers for Andre Lipsius. He is tied for sixth most in home runs in the PCL with 20. He has the third most hits in the PCL of any player, okay, with 117. He scored the sixth most runs at 68. He's tied for the ninth most RBIs at 67 and has the 12th most doubles at 20. And he's tied for the 13th highest OPS at 854. All said and done, when you put all that together, it's been a very, very good offensive year for Andre Lipsius. No clue what his future is here in the Dodgers system. I would have to think if they believe that he was part of this generation of the future, they would have brought him up instead of a Cavan Biggio. Cavan Biggio has played mainly first and third. Those are the two positions that Andre Lipsius specializes in. But hey, these guys are told every time they take the field, you are playing for all 30 organizations. So hopefully, even if the Dodgers don't utilize what he's been able to do offensively, maybe another club is out there, and like he came to the Dodgers from the Tigers, maybe they'll pick him up. He does have Major League experience. So Andre Lipsius, just keep your nose to the grindstone and keep grinding.